Here we go. Okay, we're live and welcome to Thursday Thursday PD. Thankfully, we have the most important people available. We have Ralph, who is a tech coach coordinator extraordinaire. I'm not sure what that means, and that's part of the point of the show. We also have Adriana, who is a proper tech coach and has been a tech coach for what, 3 schools?
Two. Yeah, 2 schools.
Two schools. One is a full IB school. The other is a British international school.
Yeah.
One was predominantly Western people, and one was more local Malaysians, right?
Yeah.
So some interesting. Ralph, what about your setup? Is your school more international teachers, or is it?
We are quite. We have a quite small body of students. We have less than 200 students. We are a Canadian school, and
right.
I, besides having the educational technological coordination role, also teaching STEM and.
Okay. So is your team? Is your teaching team, are they international or are they mostly Thai?
The teachers, we have only 5 Thai teachers, the rest is international.
Okay. And they probably run the Thai department, right?
Like finances and stuff like this is in the ownership.
Okay.
They own the school.
Yeah.
They own the school, yeah, that's fair enough. That's a good role to have. Okay, so both of you are now mostly dealing with international teams, right?
Yeah.
And I think that does bring its own challenges, because there is a tendency for there to be a much higher turnover if the staff are international rather than local, potentially, right?
I'm
maybe.
the first year at this school, so I don't know how much there is, but there's a lot of Canadian staff, and some are staying longer, some are going back after a few years.
Sure, fair enough. And what about Adriana? Would you say, I mean, I think both of you in fairly low turnover by international school standards, right?
Yeah. It depends on how the school treats the staff, isn't it? Because, if they have that thing where they're in for the long haul. But I do think by even having a technology coach, they're kind of thinking, because we work with our colleagues. So already they're giving a support network to the colleagues, to the staff there. So, they're in it for the long haul. Why would they bother having a technology coach if they're not going to invest in the other teachers? They want them for a longer term than 2 years.
I wonder.
And I think that's interesting. Sorry, Ralph.
Necessity of them accreditors lists from different associations like IB, where you have a special role of a tech integrator or a tech guy.
I think
yet, I believe.
Okay. So what I would say is that I think you're right. Even just having an ed tech coach does show a commitment to training the staff. And obviously, if you're going turnover every year, it's hardly worth the effort. But if you are having that 3-4 year, even in a good international school, having that ed tech coordinator, make sure everybody's up to speed, I think is a really important part of the role. So I think we'll start and is with the various roles, and we're going to take it in turns. Here are some of the roles that you could be called. So firstly, I am not a tech coach. I am a head of computing. I am a tech coach's worst nightmare.
Yeah, but don't you think, though, James, that you are maybe an unofficial tech coach?
Yeah, and I think
offer support to your colleagues and, like people like me outside of your school, but in your little network.
Yes. Well, both inside and outside. And I think, often when the tech coaches get stuck, they come to me. So, there is that. My role isn't really that. And I tend to I probably take a stronger line with people than a tech coach probably should, because my job is to teach computing. I have a full timetable and I teach the same as everybody else. And my requirements for IT are probably higher than theirs. controversially, I'm quite sure that if you are not taking computer science, you do not deserve internet access. Just the way it is. You have perfectly good whiteboards and chalkboards. That's what your subjects are about. So why not, use them?
So you want a severe divide?
Might not like you, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I think it's just important that the computer science department get all of the internet, because that's the quality of lessons that are required. And everybody else, if they want to use chalk, whatever, it's fine by me. History, learn and live it.
You want everybody else to go retro.
Yeah, retro
or come and join you in computer science just to get to the internet.
That's perfect. That's absolutely spot on. If you can't configure a router, I don't know why you need internet. I mean, what is the point?
Does the IT department configure the routers, or the teachers who teach computing?
Ooh, good point. I like to think of it as a collaboration, but if I don't like it, I change it.
We have all a unifying network in our school, so that has the management power. I think I am allowed to see the Wi-Fi and stuff, but I can't manage them.
No, I mean, honestly, if your IT is doing an incredible job, the problem with Wi-Fi is exactly like air and oxygen. You only appreciate it when it's bad.
Yeah.
You don't give a guy the round of applause. Well done, sir. Your Wi-Fi is working perfectly. And we really should, because whatever it takes to get that Wi-Fi working properly, those network engineers, they do need a lot of credit for that. And I think that's really important.
Improved in the access points must be better. More and more students connect the throughput. That how do you call it?
Yeah.
You don't need to reconnect in the building.
Absolutely.
Walk and get handshake.
Right, you are a little bit quiet there, but one thing I want to get into, and I think we'll go through these roles, but for me, when I look at all of these titles, there's only one title in there which I feel could potentially be quite different, and that is the EdTech coordinator. Because to me, that role could well be coordinating the computing curriculum in primary. It could be coordinating the technology use in the entire school. It could be running an IT team. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It just feels like it's overseeing a bigger picture rather than it's more directed.
Yeah.
That is why I think it's always in a leading or half leading or at least coordinating function, because more roles come, or more sides need to talk to that person, whether it is from the teacher's body, the student's body, the admin, the IT staff.
Yeah.
So he needs to be, as you said before.
Let's pick the other roles apart very quickly, and just, I mean, I also think that many schools use these words interchangeably. They don't care. EdTech coach is exactly that, to actually provide training for teachers, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
And support. An EdTech specialist could be a teacher who's just very good with EdTech.
Yeah. So it doesn't apply as standalone role.
Yeah, could well be. The EdTech integrationalist suggests to me that you're going to start putting nice new. Oh, I see you've got time to type as well, have you, Adriana? Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the EdTech integrationist, it suggests a mission. We're going to integrate more to EdTech, or we're going to do something. Problem with that kind of mission is that it ends.
Yeah. I didn't really see a difference between coach and integrator.
No, there probably isn't.
Yeah, but it's just they tried to drill it down to coach.
So,
Yeah.
It's kind of moving it more from the curriculum, with integrating into the curriculum, to coaching, so that the focus is on your colleagues.
Yes, I think so. And I think, if you have new tech, then these roles could be perfectly interchangeable. But I think if you want to have a long-term role, you basically got to stay one step ahead of them and be looking at and reviewing and having that maturity. And you have to be a pedagogical expert yourself. Otherwise, how could you possibly integrate tech if you don't know those basics.
Yeah, you must not have any preferences in your colleagues and help them more because you like them more. No, you must supply everybody with help and advice and good tools to be integrated.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing. It's not about liking the people. It's about looking at their needs and wants and making sure that they're taken care of. You are just.
I do think though as well, if you have the luxury of having more than one tech coach, and they're different people, then it means that people can go to the one they feel more comfortable with. If there's only one tech coach and you just don't gel with them for whatever reason, then you're less likely to ask for help tech-wise. But if there's 2 or 3 of you that are different personalities, approach it a different way, then you've got more success, I think, at integrating.
I think so, but just like any teacher, you've got to mold your character to the people you're serving, and you would also. I think I better be careful at this point. You would also hope that the teachers are going to be professionals, and I have to say, in IT, I have seen some. Not talking about my school, I just want to stress, but I have seen some very, very unprofessional behaviour at tech conferences, at IT, and people. Pretty much demanding that the tech works and, this kind of thing and not investing the time in learning. I just want my presentation made. I just want my website made. Now, hang on a minute. They're not a graphic design studio for you necessarily. And I think that is the biggest challenge. But I also think that actually, if I were hiring a tech coach, approachability is the number one priority over their actual tech skills, and that's probably the irony of it.
And what I think is also that the people who hire the coach need to back him up to a point where other people know that he can have the position, not being at the top of all the questions. If somebody is better at Quizlet, or if somebody is better at even a good classroom usage, so be it. But a tech coach can still have a very good influence, and then should also learn from the colleagues and teachers who are ahead of him in some.
I think the danger with that is that you are actually being paid to do that job. And this is where I have issue with some tech coaches saying, oh, I just need to facilitate. I don't actually need any knowledge myself. And the problem with that is that you are still relying then on people who are on a full-time schedule, who are on a full-time thing, and you don't have the skills that they have. That's a real issue. What do you think to that, Adriana?
We had that conversation with some of my colleagues before, because we were talking about whether the role of tech coach, eventually you don't need it in school, because if you're looking for tech-savvy teachers, so recruitment stage, you're choosing people who are tech-savvy, just like you would. They know their stuff about the curriculum, they've got good behaviour management, and you as a school says, right, I want you to know your technology and use it. So eventually, do you even need a technology coach if you're getting to the stage where they're very much able to, run it themselves? And my colleagues were saying that, well, the time factor, if you could give us the time out of the classroom to develop technology, to explore it, then we don't need the tech coach. But at the moment, it's over and above what the timetable can allow. So that is why they need a coach to
and I think also
them.
I think that the mature application is for that coach to go out and investigate and to look at the new technologies and then come back with the good ones. Which ones are the good ones? Which ones are rubbish? Which ones don't work well? And you need to have those reviews and those suggestions so that it's ready for prime time education.
You need to be the top of your game to know what is new in the tech education.
And technology changes, it gets chargeable, you have to choose subscriptions. And I do think that kind of maturity is
need a budget.
Incredibly important. Yeah.
Point we can discuss about.
Yeah.
Like depending on what point you are there, but normally you need a budget for software. Nowadays it's licensed software per year or per student even.
Yeah.
And the most mature tech coaches I know, the best ones, not only do all of these things, but they then actually direct the IT department. Now, Ralph was having that discussion about who should be in charge of what. And honestly, it depends on the quality of the tech coach. Yeah. If the tech coach is good enough and has enough technical knowledge to at least know what's going on in the IT department, but then they can direct and run that.
I just wanted to say that if we talk about technology in schools nowadays and IT and pedagogy and subject knowledge and curriculum knowledge, I mean, you can blow your head off with all the skills needed there. So there needs to be collaboration and working together to embed technology more in the curriculum, so it is available for everybody, in people who are not tech savvy. And yeah, we need to get all tech savvy. We live in a tech.
But also, we need to decide when we actually need technology. Now, I was having a little fun with you with the chalkboard, right?
Yeah.
But I know perfectly good economics lessons that have been taught with nothing but a chalkboard, because you know, if that's what's required for that lesson and you want to put a few lines on a chart, then a chalkboard could be absolutely the answer. Obviously, the quality of chalk is very important, and apparently the best
games on a chalkboard as well. It's not only that you can make only math and chemical equations on chalk.
Yeah. He's just trying to send us back to the chalkboard so that we don't get his internet. That's all he's doing. But again, I've seen teachers struggle using the smartboard and all the tools that go with it. You know, you can get a built-in projector, a built-in compass, that kind of thing. And they struggle to use those tools when, if just go back to basics. Don't use technology for the sake of it, you know.
Absolutely. And you know what? One day I told my kids, I was teaching them IT or economics, and I was saying to them, I said to them, right, we're going to have a new whiteboard system that's going to allow 4 people to draw on it at once. And they were all shocked because, of course, what I did was I put, 4 squares across the thing and gave 4 pens and said, right, it's ready for 4 people.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? That was more interactive than the interactive whiteboards at the time.
Yeah.
And that, technology has to be used for the right source. Now, of course, I know that, what history lesson isn't made better by a YouTube video or, being able to see great geographers and seeing the geography and seeing the places. Of course, using cardboard in the gang makes those much more interesting, and that's fine. But I think you need to say to yourself, are you getting anything out of that technology?
I have a very good example of what a tech-savvy teacher can say, a tech or a coordinator or an integrator should know about, for example, in the classroom. A teacher should know where to find what videos to use and maybe what playlists to use. And a tech coordinator would have to know what the benefits of playlists really are and how to integrate them on websites, and maybe also in what way YouTube is structured, and how to watch out for the safety of the kids.
Yeah,
so
sure.
There's a role what the teacher doesn't need to know necessarily, and there's always these lines where you distinguish one job from another.
And I think this is where it gets interesting. And I think this is where, if you are going to take on the role of a tech coach, which was the kind of aim of today's conversation, and I almost had a job as a tech coach, but the needs of a computing department are greater than the needs of anything else. But should a tech coach just be a facilitator? Yeah, that's the key thing. So I would say, right, negotiate your job description, but also look at the value that you are adding to that school. You know, if you have strengths and weaknesses, you kind of need to be upfront. You need to kind of do it. I agree with Ralph. If other people are doing a great job, then it's your job to then distill that and then disseminate it. Wouldn't you say?
But yeah, your job as well is to champion others.
Yeah.
To get them so that they're at a place where they are becoming experts in their field.
Letting them take the credit and grow and feel good about it.
Yeah.
Like students.
It's true. It is very true. And I think that these are all good points. So in terms of a job description, have either of you got a job description for being a tech coach?
I made one in my first job.
Yes.
And I probably asked you for a job description from your school and about 4 other schools. I just reached out on Twitter and said, can I see your job descriptions? And then just pick the best ones, the stuff I wanted to do. I want to do that. No, I'm not doing that one. And then handed it over.
Schools have enough oversight, or their HR department, or in my case, it's a very, very, very good principal who has a clue about how to use technology. And in each of the schools we are in, there must be one who had an eye for that technology will play a role. So, and that's why we are grateful having these jobs. And I was a bit estranged by the discussion if that role could be abolished by just better or nerdier or better tech-savvy teachers. I think that it's not, as we discussed, if it's only training, okay, but there is so much more than just training teachers on PDs, but assisting them in daily tasks of integrating better. And
well, I think that is a big challenge. I think you're right, because I think tech coaches are being phased out. I mean, even amazing tech coaches like Wesley, when he left Bangkok, I don't think they replaced him.
I wasn't replaced in my last job because I'm irreplaceable. But
yeah, of course.
But again, they didn't feel that there was a big enough need for it. They didn't think And but eventually you must. But I have the argument where I'm almost trying to do myself out of a job, that the teachers become more confident in using technology, that you have your champions amongst the staff, but of course that they're given time, even if it's a part-time timetable or something like that, that people are given time to actually work on, because it is a passion for some people. It is something that they enjoy doing. So, why are we stifling that? We should be encouraging that passion. So why can't they be a class teacher as well as a technology coach?
And I actually think that's a really good model
to do that.
I think that's a really good model. Is I think that many of the best tech coaches are teaching part of the time, and they're a tech coach, because then of course they're not out of the classroom, because as soon as you're removed from the classroom full time, it becomes a real challenge unless your job is literally to co-teach.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Ralph, do you have a teaching timetable?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How many hours a week are you teaching?
Oh, I don't even know just now. I think about 13 to 15.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I don't have a teaching timetable, and I crave getting into the classroom. I'm like loitering at the doors.
And you just visit the classroom and stay in there whenever you want?
Pretty much. I kind of just immerse myself in there. And I've been there 4 months, and I've said yes to everything, whether it's school trips, fundraising events, weekends, just to get in and talk to the teachers. Sometimes it's, sneaky talks. Well, it's just like I did the 24-hour, I didn't run the 24-hour race, but I oversaw it. I was in there at like 2 o'clock in the morning talking to one of the other teachers about Makerspace. and how we can like adapt that. And what can I do to support it being big in the school? 2 o'clock in the morning. So you just grab any opportunity.
But I think that's it. It's relationships, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ralph. You're fading out a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, they just see me sitting in an office thinking, well, what are you actually doing? You know, what are you doing? So I need to be, you know, I made sure I wasn't even on the duty roster. They didn't think to put me on the duty roster. I asked to be on the duty roster, just so that they can see, oh, she's doing the same job. So I run a CCA that's not tech related as well as a tech one, because again, I'm working with people I probably would never speak to otherwise. So I just happened to be in the MUN talking to them, and then suddenly we're talking about, oh, what if we green screen something or made a video, or, you know, it's always almost like sneaky chats.
But that's what you've got to do. Because the thing is, the people that need your help the most are the ones that are definitely not going to approach you, and they're definitely going to ask. And I think that's the real challenge. And I think proving your value is important. And I think Ralph is right in pointing out to us that if you're a tech coach, you are the first person that can be gone if you do not have a timetable. Because, you know, if numbers fall or whatever, you are if you're going to cut costs, you're not going to cut classroom teachers.
No, but especially with STEAM now, or applied skills in tech, being more and more in the curricula, in international curricula, I think that the tech coach has always a role as a STEM teacher, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you can go straight back into the classroom, I think that's really important. But as I say, I think proving your value to the school is incredibly important. And I know there are schools out there which have cut the coaches, either because everybody's upskilled and there's no further need, particularly when you've got mature iPad programs and one-to-one programs and all this, or it could just simply be that, you get to a point where if the school's cutting costs, it sees somebody who doesn't have a full classroom, and it says, well, there you go.
Yeah, or you become the cover teacher. You know, someone's not in today. Oh, could you just pop in and cover that class? Let's do something on digital citizenship.
Most of the international accredited schools have a must budget for teachers, and which they have to spend on PD. And if you can offer PD in-house, that I think can save you a lot of money.
Absolutely, and that's great proof of value, isn't it? I mean, if you are the one who's prepared to offer professional development, whole school professional development, if you also have that pedagogical experience too,
if the principal approaches the tech coach and say, "Hey, please explain how," give me a topic, AI works, so we can all understand it, and you have no clue as a tech coach, then you read yourself into it and you give a
presentation. Funny you should mention that. Happy to talk about that subject.
Yeah. Usually the tech coach would at least be knowing about all the subjects which they are.
But also as well, you might save money on the whole school PD opportunities, but then that money needs to be spent investing in your tech coach so that they are kept up to date.
Yeah.
But I've now got a policy where I don't want to go to conferences by myself, because I was having a great time, but then I'd come back and I'd just be this lone voice in the staff room. Oh, this was really great. We should try it. And no one got enthusiastic. It was the same voice saying the same thing. So I say now I want to take 3 or 4 people with me, even if it's only 2 conferences a year, to Vietnam or somewhere cheap, but you can still get stuff. And then at least you've got a group of people coming back excited and enthusiastic and saying, right, can we all push to order these, or how do I use that in my class? Let's work on it.
I think that's it. And also, I think one of the good things that your school used to do was you offered the Google conferences and things, and you do the Teach Me's, and at least then people are getting a chance to do it. But I think if you send 3 or 4 people, of course, the excitement of actually going somewhere, even if it's across the city or whatever, at least get them out of the main classroom and gives them a chance to look at these things.
And,
so
and in my last school, it was almost like a reward. So, you know, targeting, you know, those people who are enthusiastic and coming to me and wanting stuff. And then I'd say to them, hey, could I put your name forward to go to Vietnam? And they'd be like, yeah, that would be really cool. And, you know, so you're just sort of saying, because, you know, you were doing this and I really was impressed. And they see it as a reward and want to do more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think
we haven't talked about it at all is digital literacy in general, and especially in how to involve parents and being law-abiding to the new tech or data information rules, which are ruled out all over the world.
Yeah. So, bear in mind that I think one of the key things with digital literacy is that we are in different countries, so we have quite different rules. Thailand is actually very strict in terms of every person who's supposed to be on the internet should be identifiable.
Okay.
So, you know,
okay.
So you are supposed to, every student on board should have a personal internet account.
Really?
Yeah, that is the case.
Yeah.
Whereas we go to great lengths not to identify them, to try and, we have numerous conversations about email addresses revealing too much.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, but basically the government needs to know who is online and they need to know who is using that internet. And as I say, it's not enforced that strongly, I don't know, but it is enforced enough. And as I say, Thailand's data protection is quite strong in that sense that you are very responsible for what you say.
Yeah.
Malaysia, pretty easy. Yeah.
Work in progress.
Actually, the Data Protection Act is a very good model. It's just the enforcement of that act is a problem. Also, there's only 3 ISPs, so generally speaking, you know, you get what you're given.
Yeah.
Well, you can be monitored easily if there are only three ISPs. Yeah, if there are only a couple of.
Can be. Yeah, it's very true. Malaysian government, I don't feel they might be monitoring us, but I don't feel so. I mean, the Prime Minister's response to all the Huawei spying was, "Don't think we've really got anything worth spying on." So, knock yourselves out, boys.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm happy to be spied on in a good way. I think what they keep us safe from far outweighs my cat videos on Facebook.
That's right. And I think, as I say, I think we do have to be aware of those policies. But I think in terms of digital literacy, obviously the tech coaches should be leading the way because, you know, you have access to all those classrooms and the opportunities. I notice one of the challenges can be what happens if the teachers themselves aren't, you know, following the ideas.
Well, then you have to step in if it's against the law. You have to be gentle.
Well, it might not be against the law, but it might be the ire of parents, or it might be doing yourself a disservice. You know, if you actually in Malaysia, you could quite easily be against the law if you're taking bikini shots.
In school?
I know. But that's the point. I mean, is people's social media, their Facebooks and things like that. In Malaysia, it seems very common for businesses to use Facebook and to use it as a business tool. Since I've joined up with the Southeast Asian Google Innovators, I've discovered you're all on Facebook and using it largely for professional purposes.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't
possibly not YouTube,
digital media, where else should they learn it?
Yeah, it's true.
We have to talk about it in the students. If the tech coach doesn't do it, who else?
Yeah, we have conversations about Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and what we should be posting because, you know, we recently had someone coming in to talk about how to harness Twitter as a really good learning tool, but didn't take them through what should and shouldn't be posted. So we had a lot of children's faces on Twitter. And it needed to have that step taken back to say, wherever possible, focus on the work rather than the students, because there's a lot of students who can't be
I see
posted, but you don't know that just walking through a classroom.
With smiley faces over students, or somehow better even taking the picture from the back where you see the student's work from in the student's head.
I think you do have to be that little bit careful, so long as you don't put names with faces. But if you know that, you know, in a primary classroom, it's relatively easy because you have the same kids every day.
In our school, all the students' parents, with exceptions, have signed the agreement that we can publish their pictures in promotional material. And I'm sure that they can, if somebody would make a face which is not nice, they can ask to put it down, and we comply happily.
So. But even just because parents sign that doesn't mean that we as educators have carte blanche to just, well, your parents signed so we can take the photo. I still want them to be really mindful of how they, you know, what they're posting, because this is a lesson for life. This is what I feel, and I'm trying to drill the students, the parents and the teachers to say the only time you have control of your image is when it's taken. So I want them to be asking the question, what are you taking my photo for, and what are you going to use it for? Because the students don't ask that enough. They're just so compliant. They're just like, oh yeah, sure. But that's the only time they have control over it. It's, you know, so it's true. I mean, I just took a plane back from Indonesia, and the gentleman beside me took my photo when we were just getting into our seat, just taking a selfie of us both without asking me or letting me know. And it's only because I looked over and saw it, and I just lost it. And it was just delete, get into your trash, delete, get off your phone, you know, because, you know, obviously he's not been schooled about it. And it's another, you know, Indonesia probably a lot freer in taking the photos, but, you know, he knows about that now. So
well,
I want the children to be drilled about it.
I mean, when you've got Western kids around Southeast Asia, people take pictures left, right, and center, and there's relatively little you can do about it. You know, the worst thing is the old pinching. Maximus used to hate that one kid, and you know that's such a personal invasion. You don't know where that person's hands have been. You know, it's quite shocking. And I would extend that, by the way, not just Southeast Asia, to be honest, because even down in Australia, England, it seemed to be regardless. And I think that's a real challenge. Okay, so any other? I feel we've probably covered most of the key points in here. So I'm just going to have a quick check of things. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up, Adriana?
Yeah, because there was a thought about when are you ed tech and when are you IT support?
Right, yeah.
You know, because, you know, all things knowing. So my projector's not working, fix it. You know. And of course you'll help as a colleague, but at the end of the day, that's IT support. You know, any teacher would help in that instance, right? So just because you're the tech coach, if you're a fellow colleague with a kind heart, you should be helping them. But it's when it doesn't work, it's to IT support.
Well, I think in an emergency, I've helped people with projector problems and things like that, and all kind of things. But I do think if it's something that you can't fix in 10 seconds, or you know you've walked past the classroom, I think you should say, "I'll call IT for you," or something like that. I just think having that clear division of roles is just important. You know, if something is going wrong with the hardware or software, then I think if it's not a training issue, then obviously you call in IT support, put in the appropriate request. But if you think you can fix it instantly, but the other thing is, tech coaches, I think the important part of a tech coach's role is to make sure that the software and the hardware that people are using is as bulletproof as possible. Because I don't think if you chose a projector, you're then responsible if it's not showing the reliability expected. And you know, I'm relatively cautious introducing new software to students. If I tell them it's experiment, fair enough. But I think, you know, if it's experimental, should be the tech coach who's leading the way and supporting. But if you're giving out to all of the teachers and expecting them to use this, it should be pretty much bulletproof. And user errors, you know, well, unless they're super obvious, really shouldn't be hurting the software. And I think the worst case of that is things like registration systems where they crash and cause all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, I would say when I run parent workshops, I always try and have IT support there.
Yeah.
So that I'm not distracted in front of the parents, and we have a good show in front of the parents. But also as well, you know, I say to the IT support, I'm going into this lesson. If there's anything goes wrong tech-wise, I'm going to message you. Please be available, because it's about building the teacher's confidence.
Absolutely.
And if it's not working for them, they're getting frustrated. They're not likely to use it again. If I can't fix it and it's stopping the lesson, the confidence is lost in me, and then they're less likely to invite me in again. You know, so I just need it to be on the ball all the time. We had an incident recently with group tweet, so we're trying to get the students to use Twitter, and that all logged straight into Twitter instead of group tweet, and we couldn't work out why we couldn't moderate it, and we missed a couple of steps. And that was a perfect example of where it was like, oh, what is going wrong with this? And even when I got to group tweet later, because I needed to solve it for the next lesson, it was quite frustrating for me and for the teachers. But in my defense, I hadn't set it up. That kind of invited me and then said, we're using this group tweet. And I'm like, what is this? So it made me think. We had the conversation again where I said, you know, don't blindside me like that. Just let me know if you're doing something different. I thought you're going straight to Twitter, no problem. But if you let me know, then I would have been a lot more prepared for it.
I did see that Twitter stuff. And the other thing that, on a side note here, not to do with tech coaches, I hate it when people send you tweets and they're saying, oh, we'd love it if our year 5 class would do this. And I'm like, I'm a teacher with 30 kids, and you don't think the parents might want to be in on this? Or you think some random stranger's a good person to choose? You know, I'm like, guys, you know, targeting here.
Target the marketing a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, if you happen to put it out generally, you know, these kids got a blog, they'd love a response, fair enough. Yes or no, fine. But when you start targeting people and you're thinking, I teach computer science secondary, and you'd like me to deal with your year 3
grade 5
class, grade 5 class, I mean, I'm like, yeah, okay then. Yeah.
And then we have to follow up lesson about inappropriateness of people.
You have,
and also you're contacting strangers. You know, it should be the teachers tweeting, not the kids. And also,
really?
Yeah, absolutely. The age limit is now inside the European Union is 16, and 13 for most other countries, including Malaysia.
Yeah, but that's why they use group tweet. It's a cover.
If the group tweet is being run by the teacher, fine. I mean, that's fine. But
yeah, it just means it's moderated. But yeah, I definitely hear you. We're saying one thing about age limits and then allowing it in the other vein.
Yeah. I recently got rid of an exercise because they made it 18 for some reason, and I was like, no, I'm not using it. It says you have to be over 18 to use this service, so that's it. We don't use it. I'm not selling that example for digital literacy. This was for the year 7, so I just wasn't into it. I was like, I don't care if it's not supposedly adult. They've just said an 18 limit, presumably for personal information reasons. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
You know, it's challenging. And as a computing teacher, I want to be modeling best practice. Now, the fact that they can type my name in and find all sorts of good stuff, mostly I try to make it as boring as possible so that if they do accidentally find my name, which they will, they're going to learn some more good computer science stuff or some stuff about digital literacy, you know.
Yeah.
But that's all good fun. Right, Ralph, I feel you haven't had enough of a say today, so here you go. Here's your chance. 3 minutes, go.
So I think there are so many challenges for a tech coach. They have to please so many. They have to keep the laws. They have to work in some places with just the tools they're given. They have no budgets. It can be a very frustrating place. Even better though if you're connected with teachers and can get away with trainings and personal learning networks in small groups, which can advocate and drive invention in the classroom with different apps, with different tools, with different programs, with different hardwares. I am happy as a tech integrator or tech coach or coordinator. Teacher comes to me from any class and says, "Hey, these Arduino boards, can we use them to make Christmas decoration?" Then yeah, you want to do it, I'm here to help you.
That's great.
I think that I say my title again. I'm educational technology coordinator in my school, which I think has a tech coach definitely in it, but also many other roles, which are many of them are coordinating and some of them are and I love it very, very much. And yeah, I'm a man with many hats.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you for the time.
No problem at all. Now, to summarize this conversation, I've got it all sussed. So this is all you need to do to be, hang on, here we go.
A tech coach, according to the one who's not a tech coach.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is just the basic standard. If you want to be a tech coach, all you've got to be is a great pedagogical expert, know all the tech, future cast, and the life of the party, and your job is done.
No pressure then. It's definitely not in the job description that I wrote.
Christmas edition.
Yeah, that's it. Thirsty Thursday. All your problems solved. And by the way, even if you're a tech coach, you're only entitled to 5% of the internet time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay.